What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the Biker channel, B1. Today, you're on episode 42 of the Biker Bar. First of all of you fathers out there, happy Father's Day. I did my best Father's Day that I could come up with this morning. I basically spent no time with them and went mountain biking, but I'll make that up later. So, nonetheless, I'm rocking the what the hell is the name of these guys? Dirt Trail Riders. So you guys have seen this shirt before. I had some people ask me on Instagram and whatnot. So it looks like a skull and a crossbones, except for the crossbones are forks. So that's Dirt Trail Riders. I'll put the link up later. If you're listening to the podcast, it'll be in the information there. Also, rocking this is apparently the small business apparel company show. So also have the Full Send Alliance. If you guys missed the podcast last week or the live stream last week, I actually didn't put the podcast up until yesterday. Anyways, I appreciate everybody coming out to hang out with us. It's gonna be a fun show. For those of you guys that watch all the YouTubers, you're probably familiar with these two, Syd and Macky. I believe they're husband and wife now, if I remember correctly. They got married. They weren't married as when they first started the channel. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm Macky.
I'm Syd.
And we have a little YouTube channel where we sort of share our adventures from racing mountain bikes professionally, all over the place, basically. And try to provide a little bit of inspiration for people if they are thinking about doing their first race or their not first race. But a lot of people have questions or are nervous about racing for the first time. And we sort of want to do our best to make people feel comfortable and give it a go, because it's really a lot of fun.
I'm glad you guys because the first time that I started listening to your guys' channel, I actually didn't know which one was which. And for the longest time, I thought that Syd was the dude and Macky was the lady. But apparently I was bass-ackward.
You're not the only one. That happened all the time, which is why we started just like every video introducing ourselves. And it was really funny because for a while we would like get people that are like, why are you telling us your names every time? And then like the comment would go on and they like still wouldn't know which of us was which. We're like, listen,
you are the reason that we have to introduce ourselves every single time.
But yeah, we both have gender neutral names. So.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something going on there whenever I start talking. I don't know if it's feedbacking on your end or something, but let's see. Or is there like a dog outside or a bulldozer or something like that? Never
there's
mind.
like some traffic, but no
maybe.
dogs or bulldozers.
Let's see if that's at all better. I turned the volume down a little bit, so maybe we'll get a little less feedback.
All right, sounds good. Either way, if you guys on the chat are really fed up with it, just throw me some super chats and then I'll try to make them fix it. Otherwise, I'm down with the super chats. So how long you guys been? So for the people that don't follow your channel, you guys are both professional riders, correct?
Yes.
And were you guys professional riders before you met each other, or how'd you guys meet?
So we met in college, and Macky did race professionally at that point, but he was also in college. And I did ride mountain bikes, but I didn't really race at all before I met him. So
where'd you guys go?
We went to Middlebury College, which is up in Vermont. So
oh wow, are you guys from the East Coast?
I'm from Ohio and he's from New Mexico. So no, basically.
Big spread there.
Yeah.
Where in Ohio are you from?
Athens.
Where's that at?
It is southeastern corner, like really close to like Parkersburg, West Virginia. So
okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so
nice.
And then New Mexico. How about you?
I am from Taos. Well, yeah, we moved to Taos when I was like 12.
I just want to know how close that is to Roswell. That's really all I care about.
Not close. Yeah.
I went to Carlsbad once. I did a road trip from Sacramento to Carlsbad, New Mexico, and I tell you what, that everything from like LA to Carlsbad sucks. Like it's like very boring. I mean, you kind of
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think we say that northern New Mexico is like Colorado without the money, and southern New Mexico is like Texas without the money.
I actually peed on a rattlesnake on that trip. I'm gonna have to tell a story because it's just freaking hilarious. So we may or may not have been having some roadies by the time we passed El Paso, heading up to Mexico. And so we pull over finally, like we're like, in the middle. There's nothing out there. Like there is nothing anywhere, right? At least at night,
pretty much.
there's nothing anywhere. I'm assuming it's still the same way in the daytime.
Yes,
So we
more
pull
or
over,
less.
and there's like these like berms on, like a berm on the side of the road, like you would think like if it was a levee next to you or something like that. And I get out of the car, and we have like the hazard lights on, so it's like you can see for a second, you can't see for a second, you can't see for a second, right? And I walk up this little hill, and I'm like taking a leak, and I hear this like, and I'm thinking to myself, oh fuck, the sprinklers are on, like nowhere in my fucking mind was I thinking like, dude, you're in the middle of the desert, why the fuck would they have sprinklers on? And it was like that sound's going, and like as the light gets on at one point, I'm like looking down, and I'm literally like peeing next to this fucking snake, like, and I'm like, oh my god, snake! And my ex-wife at the time, like, she jumps in the car, locks the doors, and is standing out of the freaking sunroof while all the rest of us are outside of the car. Like, dude, way to freaking buddy fuck us off. She's like, you said snake. So,
She's like, the snake's gonna open the doors. I had to lock them.
like, what the hell is that all about? So that was an interesting road trip. So nonetheless, so whenever I guess whichever you guys want to start first, you said which one of you guys want to tell your story of how you started mountain biking?
Maggie goes.
I'm going.
You guys like got a rock paper scissors on everything, right?
Yeah.
No, the nose goes.
Yeah,
man.
nose goes. Sid was too fast.
I'm really good at that, especially when it's about the dishes.
Yeah. So how I got into mountain biking, my family moved to New Mexico when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents signed me up for a after school mountain bike program. And I was like, hey, this is super fun. Enjoyed it. The people who ran the camp, I think I did it like 2 years.
So
and then they were like, say that again.
The joking aside from earlier, so I'm assuming where you live is probably more northern New Mexico, so it's a little more hilly.
Yes. So basically, Taos is at like 7,000 feet or something of elevation.
Taos is a ski town.
Yes, Taos is a ski town.
Okay.
And it goes up from there. So you can ride your bike to 13,000 feet.
Oh, no
basically.
joke.
So,
12.
Okay, yeah, 12,000, not 13. Sid's right. But there's plenty of elevation
I love
around
how
here.
she corrected you on that, dude.
Yeah,
Anything above 10
Come
fucking
on, this is a
close.
good story, Sid. So I grew up in I consider myself a New Mexican. Got into it that way. The people who were leading the camp were like, hey, do you want to try a race? There's one in Angel Fire, which is like 45 minutes away. And I was like, sure, that'd be fun. And so they took me over there, and I raced the Angel Fire race and got second in my category of beginners, like 15 and 16-year-olds or something.
Oh, right on, dude. So that's
And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
right?
Yeah. So then the next race,
You're
I was
like winning. This is fucking
pretty much. Then the next race, I was like, oh, well, I did well in beginner. Like, I'll move up a category. And at that time, there was only beginner and expert. So I raced expert for the next race, and we ended up racing the same distance as the pros. And I ran out of water, and some random guy passed me and like handed me a water bottle who like wasn't in my category. And so I survived the race, and I was third only because everybody else dropped out in my category.
Oh, there you go.
And I was like, wow, racing is awesome. And
You're like, I'm fucking podium every
like,
time. You're like, I'm a natural.
Yeah, pretty much. 17 years later, I'm still doing it. So
That's awesome. How about you, Sid?
Yeah, so both my parents mountain bike, so I grew up riding like from a very young age. So, but I did.
We have pictures of Syd,
Yeah,
like in the buggy being pulled, and then
that was
on the
more of a road
tandem
bike. Yeah,
riding with her dad.
Oh,
And
that's
then
awesome.
like Syd was like stardom young, sort
yeah.
of.
So I started riding this was a road bike, but like tandem road bike with my dad when I was like 6 years old. He had to put like crank extender so I could like reach the pedals and stuff. And then started mountain biking when I was like maybe 12, I think. And I rode consistently through high school, but I ran competitively and did like track and cross country and all that. So I didn't ride that much until I went to college. I was planning on running in college, got hurt, ended up going into mountain biking at that point and racing collegiate mountain biking, which is how I met Macky. And
you guys were both in like a college, like a mountain biking club or something in school, or
yeah, it was very small. There were like 6 of us.
right?
The best year, there were 6 of us.
Yeah.
The worst year, I was the only one.
Yeah. It was pretty great. There was the first year that I raced collegiate, there were 6 of us. And the 6 people, there were 2 Alexes and 2 Syds.
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances of that? So like, there were only 6 of us, but we all had the same name.
Yeah.
How about that?
Like, collegiate is like really fun and really good way to get into mountain biking if there's anyone of that age listening. Like it's racing, but like mainly it's partying. Like,
yeah, mainly it's
like,
hanging out with your friends and riding bikes.
Yeah, it's like racing with the side of, or partying with the side of bike racing.
Well, I'm basically like a collegiate mountain biker is what you're telling me.
What's that?
I said I'm basically a collegiate mountain biker. Then.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like you would really enjoy collegiate mountain bike racing. Yeah.
And if I could start out anything like Macky, I'd just be podium all the time. Everybody quit. Nobody shows up. They're like, this is awesome.
That was the other great part about collegiate is usually it wasn't that competitive, so you could do really well.
Right on.
Well, they have so many categories too. So
and divisions, yeah.
Did you guys travel a lot with that, or was it pretty much like right around there in Vermont, or?
It was like Vermont, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Why do I feel like we never went to New York though? We did road races in New York. I don't remember ever doing a mountain bike race.
There was a lot of traveling in the Northeast.
So basically all like the New England states.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it was like the Eastern Collegiate.
No, it was the ECCC, Eastern Collegiate Cycling Conference.
Yeah.
And that was basically the Northeast because the Southeast had their own conference.
Right on.
We did a lot of driving to race.
What did you guys end up getting degrees in?
I have a degree in environmental science and history, which you can tell I'm using
all the time.
Hey, man, you never know, man.
Yeah.
I have a degree in computer science.
Oh, wow.
I basically use it to do our websites and, edit videos.
Yeah. So you would have took a lot of programming classes and stuff like that.
I took a lot of programming classes.
When I first started school, I wanted to be a computer science major, and I wanted to do that all the way until I took C++, and I was like, this is dumb. I don't want to do that anymore. And then I got into networking and shit, and I was like, okay, this is more like it.
Yeah, it frequently takes some time to figure it out. Like, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I took biology, and I was like, nope, thank you.
Yeah, for me, I was always like, I like the creative part of stuff. So like, I liked, like, when I was doing that kind of stuff, it was like, I would be the guy that designed all the GUIs and then let everybody else write the functions. I was
like, nice.
And those guys didn't want to do the GUIs, so they were like, oh, that's awesome, So anyways, right on. So how did Syd, how did you get into racing? Like, you were just like taking Macky all the time and you were like, I want to do pro level 2, or it was the collegiate thing?
Yeah, so I raced collegiate and I was just cross country. And then when I graduated, Macky raced cross country for 10, maybe like, let's say like 7 or 8 years, and then switched to enduro in 2014, which was when I graduated from college. So I ended up basically starting racing enduro at that point with like no idea what I was doing at all, but I was reasonably fit and whatnot. So I just sort of like signed up for pro, and because there were no categories in enduro at that point, there was like pro and amateur because it wasn't really cycling at all. So yeah, I pretty much just signed myself up for pro.
You should explain the true reason you signed up for pro.
Yeah, no, the first race that I signed up for pro was because the amateurs had to like wait for like 3 hours to start, and I wanted to like get it over with. So I was like, I'll race pro. But then I like didn't totally realize that I was gonna be like stuck doing that for 7 years.
Now here she is.
So like once you sign up pro, you can't go down.
Well, you can,
but like, you can't.
She didn't. She wasn't slow enough to like. People would have been like, "Whoa, you're just like downgrading so you can do well." Like if she had been like
sandbagging,
so far behind, if she'd been so far behind, then it would have been like, "Yeah, you should downgrade." But she wasn't. So
yeah, I was good enough, just good enough to like get my ass kicked.
It would take like one look at me and they'd be like, "Dude, if there was one below amateur, we would."
Oh, come on. Don't sell yourself short there.
But man, at the end when they're like, man, he celebrates like a pro though.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you guys have a unique living arrangement, yes?
Yeah, sorry, we're gonna squiggle things around here for a second because it's in New Mexico.
Because we're in our car.
We're in our house, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh wait, it's the same thing.
It gets right into the question that I asked. So
yes.
So we do primarily live in our van, which is where we are now.
You can see some cupboards behind us here.
We've got some cupboards. So Mackie's parents have a house here in Taos. They actually are living in Southeast Asia. It's kind of complicated, but it does mean we are able to come here and sleep in their driveway, basically, for a few
shower,
years.
Laundry, kitchen.
Yeah.
There you go.
None of that's been going so well because they've been having plumbing issues. So we've basically just been camping in the driveway.
Mostly just camping in the driveway.
So, and you guys aren't living in like a Sprinter, if I remember correctly. It's like more like an eco van, right?
Yeah, it's a Ford E350. So basically what you see here is our entire, I wouldn't move it too much to make it weird, but this is our entire living space. And then the rest is for motos and bikes and stuff.
So basically those of you guys that are listening, they're sitting in the front seats and then there's about a couple of feet behind them, and then they're saying, if you said motos, you're definitely, so you guys have motorcycles back there too?
We do.
You still carrying the Ripro around as well?
Yep.
And you guys got some stuff packed up in that thing.
We have all the toys.
Do. And so we sleep in a rooftop tent.
Uh-huh.
So you have to climb up the back and then across the roof and then get into bed.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're doing cardio for everything that you do.
Pretty much.
It's really a bummer actually when you like hurt yourself or like super sore because you crashed. You're like, I can't get into the tent.
You're like, can we just put it on the ground?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Or when it's raining or even worse, snowing. When it's snowing, you like go out to pee in the middle of the night and you're like stepping in snow.
Yeah.
And that's not as fun.
So we usually avoid snow. We spend the winter somewhere warm or somewhere we can be in a house. And but we came back to Taos in March. Was it March? No, it was like April May. When was it? Just recently. It was May. Okay, we came back here in May, mid-May. We're like sleeping up in our rooftop tent. It snows 6 inches of this wet, like horrible spring snow. And the tent, like, it literally collapsed on us at 1 a.m. because it got too heavy.
So we're like trying to sleep, and all of a sudden the roof of our bed collapses on us.
And we're like lying there, like popping with it like 2 inches above our nose. that was a van life low point.
Yeah, at that point we were like, maybe we'll sleep inside tonight. And so then we went inside.
So you guys, when you got out of college, did you guys go straight into the van life, or did you guys like get a place for a while? And then what got you to the point where you wanted to live in a van?
Well, okay, we went straight into car life. So Macky had we still have it, a 2007 Chevy Aveo. I don't know if anyone wants to look that up. It's like possibly the smallest car that you can possibly have. So we lived out of that for a year. So that was what inspired van life. We're like, wow, a van would be so nice.
Basically, we were living out of the car, and then we went to visit Syd's folks in Ohio, and I ended up getting a dirt bike.
Which did not fit in the Chevy Aveo.
Dirt bike's definitely not going to fit in the Chevy Aveo. I guess we need a van. And then we got a van.
Yeah, so we basically bought our first van, not this one, we bought for $1,400. It was a 1996 Ford E250. And it was that cheap because it was like super, super rusty. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a learning experience about cars. We were like, cool, really cheap car. And then when we were like cleaning it out right after we bought it, we pulled up the floor mat and there was like under the driver's seat, like you could see the road. Yeah. Like there was no floor.
First life lesson, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. But here's the good part. We drove it for 3 years. We lived out for 3 years and we sold it for $2,000.
So we made $600 and had a van for 3 years.
Yeah, so it worked out. Macky put a lot of labor into it, though. I think if we gave you an hourly wage,
we probably would not
do very well. But
so, do you guys have plans to like move it, like get like a Sprinter, or you guys are digging where you're at, or you guys thinking that you want to like settle down somewhere? Or
let's put it this way. If someone who's watching wants to buy us a Sprinter, we will happily live in a Sprinter. But until that happens, we're going to stick with our Econoline.
Yeah, we'll probably at some point, we would probably get property or a house before we necessarily got a Sprinter van because we're pretty happy being in this van. And it's just like Sprinters are just so ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it's a lot
and expensive to work on, which the Econoline, I can do most of the work on this van if
nice.
I need to.
Yeah.
Just because YouTube.
For the amount that we would pay for like a Sprinter, like you could get a down payment on a decent house, and like a house is something that technically will appreciate with value, whereas cars are not. So yeah.
Right.
Where we're at this point, we'd rather save money than buy an expensive car, I guess.
I hear you. So can you guys bring the volume down of me talking on your end? I think that's what it is that I'm hearing whenever I start talking.
Do you want to just grab headphones? Or will the mic then?
All right, try talking.
How about now? Yeah, I think that's good, dude.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So sorry about that. Those of you guys paying attention, how are not paying attention, or whatever the fuck's going on. Sorry about that.
I like the person in the chat who says, "Why don't we have a giant house and a Sprinter with all of our YouTube money?"
That's what I was going to ask. Really how big's your channel right now? How big's the channel right now? Where are you guys at subscriber wise?
We just hit 30,000, so we're super stoked about that.
I bet you the YouTube truck just doesn't know where you guys are at, and that's why I haven't showed up with the money. It's like, dude, they were in New Mexico yesterday.
Right? Yeah.
We were gonna come drop off $500,000 for them, but we can't find them.
So, what inspired you? I mean, you guys are like living in this van. You're traveling around racing. And then at what point you're like, man, I wish I had something more to do with my time, and you decide to start doing YouTube?
That's a good question. Sometimes we ask ourselves. That too.
I would say, to be honest, we've always tried to do more than just race, because racing is great if you're winning at the highest international level. Then you might be able to get sponsorship just from racing. But if that's not true, which it is not for us, then you better be doing something else.
Right.
And so initially we had sort of talked about we might be able to grow a following, more of a following, because we'd always done Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And so we were like, oh, maybe we'll do YouTube. And then as we've done YouTube more, we've realized that we like doing YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like its own thing.
Yeah. We like started to do it to like be more valuable for sponsors, but now we do it because we like the community that surrounds the channel, and like we feel like we're providing useful information for people and like inspiring people to like try a race, and so it stopped being about sponsorship and started being about like YouTube and the community itself.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think we also are like looking for a way, or like we're looking for something to do beyond.
Right. Like diversify yourself.
There's just like a lot of pressure as a racer when like, so much depends on your results. And like the awesome thing about YouTube is that like we can, like if we win a race, we get a really good video. If we have like a really bad day and crash, like we get a really good video.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's even a better video when you have a bad day, because people are supportive and like they want to see that struggle and that side of the story too.
So you guys film your races as well?
Yeah.
Most of the videos of you guys that I've watched have been not races, so I didn't know you guys were doing that too.
That was what we started doing, actually. Yeah. And over the past year, we've just been putting out like a ton of content. So obviously the majority of it isn't racing, because we don't race every single weekend. But yeah, that's definitely a focus for us, is try to tell those stories.
Well, there's so many other people who do so many other parts of mountain biking on YouTube so well that we're like, we don't want to try to do the same thing or like try to do whatever they're doing better because they already do it so well. Right. We want to like, what's a unique angle that we have? And there's not really anybody else racing at the level that we are, or racing as seriously as we are,
or as much
as we are on YouTube. And so like, that's something that we can sort of tell people about or bring a unique perspective on, because it's something totally different than what other people are showing on YouTube.
Yeah, I think everybody's channel is unique in its own way. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Like, I mean, somebody could say, oh, well, Tess and Steve, like they were rolling around in the van too, and they're riding bikes, but they weren't racing. You know what I mean? Or is like somebody could compare like me and Bobo, like just both a bunch of like guys that like to drink a lot and supposedly ride mountain bikes. You know what I mean? But I think that everybody like has their unique way of going about things. And I think that at the end of the day, I want to say this is something that Brian said whenever he first started his channel, like everybody has their own people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny. Like even people that like, listen to my channel, I would always assume any other YouTuber that I have on, people would have heard of them. And there's been people that are like in some cases bigger channels, and they're like, oh, never heard of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like weird, Yeah,
totally. No, it's always interesting to like try to figure out how much of an overlap you have with another channel. Like, I'm like, we sometimes assume like, oh, if somebody follows our channel or watches our channel, they definitely watch, Brian's channel because his is so much bigger. But I'm not sure that's actually true. I think there are a lot of people who like watch both Brian's channel and our channel, but then there's also some people who just watch Brian. Well, obviously there's lots of people who just watch Brian's channel, but there's also people who just watch our channel. And so it's cool that like people, different people or different channels speak to different people, and everybody does their own
like
different
who you
thing.
Relate with. You know what I mean? Like that's what.
Once we got a comment from someone who's like, I found BKXC through you guys.
Yeah, we're like,
what
yes!
were you doing beforehand? I'm like,
yeah, totally.
It's really funny.
What do you guys what have you guys found difficult about doing YouTube?
I mean, it's a lot of time.
All the things.
I'm sure. It's a lot of internet bandwidth. That's probably our like biggest struggle.
Just trying to find a place.
Your show.
Yeah. Just trying to find a place to like be able to upload or whatever. Or
yeah. So like the gym we're sitting out in front of, like, we're like 15 minutes from Macky's parents' house. If we try to upload a video at his parents' house, it will literally take 12 hours.
Sometimes.
That's good. 12 hours is good. And then if we can come down here and do it in like 20 minutes.
There you go.
So yeah, mountain internet basically.
Yeah. I mean, we've sort of figured out some hacks of like, instead of hotspotting and trying to upload via the computer, we copy the video onto a phone and then just like upload it from the phone using data and like keep the phone awake all night so that it doesn't stop. Like there's all these kind of stupid things that like
Oh, wow,
a lot of people probably don't think of because they have decent internet at a house.
Right.
And for us, we're like, all right, like we need to park close to this cell tower so that we can get decent internet to like upload a video. And it's why we so rarely do live streams, is because our internet's not good enough. And it's like, you know, we don't want people being like, oh, we're going to get to hear a live stream and then like they can't hear us or see us or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
That happens.
yeah.
The nature of the live streaming.
Yeah, totally. Where shoot, I had a great question, but you know what? The whole time you guys are talking, all I'm doing is forgetting shit. So
Well,
how often?
Somebody in the comments asked if I still have my wrist brace on. I do not have my wrist brace on, and we went back to Pajarito like yesterday and today and rode, and I was able to ride everything. So like there's still a point that I can find that hurts, but it does not affect my riding. So I'm very happy, and I do not think my hand is broken.
For those who don't follow us on Instagram, Maggie had like a pretty gnarly wreck like a week ago today, and we were super concerned that he had broken his wrist again. So we like went and got x-rays, and they're always like, oh, you like it doesn't look broken, but you don't really know. So but he seems to be good, so that's good.
Yeah, I saw that you guys were supposed to be filming a video about Syd's new bike or something like that. And then instead Mackie like jumped over this rock and tried to Superman into a tree or something.
Pretty much.
That was a fairly succinct summary,
yeah, basically. Yeah. It's a really gnarly feature. But he did it again today.
I did it again today, and I did not hit a tree.
The fear the last time, and did it again. So good job, Maggie.
Yeah.
How often do you guys release videos?
We are doing twice a week now, so we're doing Tuesdays and Fridays. We're keeping our head above water with that for now. We may have to go back down to once a week, but we'll see.
That's pretty aggressive. Like, honestly, like, I think a lot of the YouTubers, even Brian's backed off. And Brian was like a sole believer in like, put as much content up as you can. But I think that as you do it longer, the more that you realize like, well, if I spend more time on making a good video, like it actually just does better than me doing like 2 that I'm just trying to poop out, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also the element of like what's the point of like continuous growth and like constant videos if you're not like enjoying what you're doing and like okay. But I don't know, we ride a ton and we race a ton, so we get a ton of like content. So we're like
we can get a
ton. So we're like, okay, we have a lot of cool stuff that we want to share. So I think probably like over the winter we'll do 1 a week, because I think people are just like happy to not think about bikes every second, every day. But like this, I feel
as
like
much as you guys ride, dude, you guys could do this like weekly, like wrap up kind of videos and just take all the fun stuff out of everything that you do.
Well, the problem, or I guess one of the struggles, because you were asking about YouTube struggles, is for like last year, which was basically our first year doing it seriously, we basically just filmed everything.
And we drove ourselves like nuts.
Totally stressful.
Yeah.
And so now we've gotten much better at being like, okay, like let's look at our training schedule. Let's look at our ride schedule. What is going to be interesting? Like what are people going to be interested in seeing? And then we film that stuff or that day or whatever, instead of like constantly filming. And then there's less footage we have to go through. And like, it works a lot better.
Editing go a lot faster.
Yeah. Not that editing is ever fast, even when you do.
I'm with you.
Sure.
I think what I did is I mean, I was like just trying to put out as much as I could while working, you know, full time and whatever. And not to say that your schedule isn't any more or less busy, but then like after a while, it just got to the point where I was like, I felt like I wasn't like having as much fun with it, you know, and that's
Totally.
kind of whenever I decided I was just going to do B1KER Bar for a while. And just kind of like let my POV stuff I just needed a break from it. And at this point now, I'm kind of at a point where it's like I miss making those videos. I miss that creative side. So I think I'm going to try to find a happy medium between the two, where it's like I'm going to start to like spread B1KER Bar out a little bit more. And then I'm going to try to like get back into making more POV. And when I say POV, it's just like anything that's like filmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even POV could be, you know, like, hey, these 5 tools that I like, or what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and then just kind of just really try to work on the quality of those videos. And for me, I finally got to a point where it's like realize that like I'm not gonna be YouTube famous and I'm not gonna like quit my job tomorrow, or you know what I mean? So it's like just to be like, you know what, get back to like why you started doing this and just enjoying making videos and kind of stick with that. And if the channel grows, the channel grows, you know. I can face that problem whenever it comes up, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, by the way, if you hear weird noises, that's rain. It just started raining. And when you're in a van, you hear rain. So we will do our best to talk at a level that you guys can hear, but it's raining.
It's also really raining, but
yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it's just finding that balance of like what works for you, what you enjoy doing. Because really, I mean, let's be honest, there are way easier ways to make money than YouTube.
yeah, definitely.
If you're not doing it because you enjoy it, like you should stop doing it.
Right.
I don't think anybody in the mountain bike YouTube sphere is like getting rich off of this.
No.
I don't know if we could say anybody. I put some pretty good money that Seth's doing well.
That's true. I think he puts a lot of it back into doing videos though.
Yeah.
And even there we're like, you know, I mean, I hope he's making like a couple $100,000 a year. That'd be awesome. But we're not talking like millions of dollars.
Right. Yeah. It's not like the guys that are unwrapping toys for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why the fuck is that guy getting 65 million views on every video? You know?
That's so ridiculous.
Nuts. Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to explain that to somebody the other day. They were like, well, how do those guys like, what kind of money do they make? I was like, look, let's just say it's a quarter of a penny for every video that gets watched, you know? And every video that they release, and you told me they release a video every day, is getting like 50 million views. They're fucking making stupid money.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we sort of calculated that the low end of that is like $1,000 per million views.
Might even be a little lower than that. But
Might be a little lower.
let's assume 1,000 per million views.
Yeah.
So like 50 million views would be $25,000.
Yeah.
A day.
Like I could use $25,000 a day. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Some of those channels, it's just like, you're like, what? Dude, can I do that just for like 1 year and then I'll be good for the rest of my life? You know what I mean?
Like even a week would be great. Yeah.
Right. Just like put all your effort into 7 days of videos and then you're like good for the year, right?
So awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, you know, and it's insane like the kind of stuff that's out there too. I mean, it's not even like yeah, those like the kid stuff like does really well, the camera stuff does really well, the like fail videos do really, but there's like so many like channels out there. There's like a guy that does like, I don't know how the hell I ran into it, you know, the internet, right? It's like some guy that goes around and just like talks about buying like used muscle cars. And he like goes and he's like, oh, I'm buying this one for so-and-so. And he's like showing people like, this is how you tell if there's rust under there. Or this is how you tell, you know, or whatever. I'm like, dude, this guy's channel is like huge. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, it's like so I'm killing people for 7,000. What the shit? You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys did 30 grand in 1 year. That's really good, man.
2 years, I think.
2 years?
Yeah.
Well, 2017, we sort of just like We just did race videos.
And we didn't really understand YouTube.
And we
as
did,
a
yeah, it was
medium.
like every once in a while we do a video. And I think we got from 0 to 1,000 subscribers that first year.
Oh, wow.
For
Okay.
like the first 9 months or something.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah.
Or so. And then in last year in 2018, we were like, okay, we're going to do this more seriously, like actually like try to do it properly. And we went from 1 to 17, I think.
Yeah.
And then since January of this year, we've done 13,000, which is
Wow.
Yeah, almost double,
awesome.
which was
Yeah.
actually like our goal for the year. So
We're
now
really
we're
stoked.
like, cool, that's awesome.
yeah.
Did you feel like after you got over 10,000 that it like started like picking up?
Yeah, sort of. We did a video about Ray's bike park that went kind of nuts. I think it's at like 2 million views now. So that's like brought in a ton of subscribers. And I'm not sure, like, I think some of those people have like stuck around and like watched every video, but I think some people just like hit subscribe and then are like confused by the videos that we actually publish.
This isn't a video about an indoor bike park. I'm unsubscribing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can like totally judge a channel just by like the subscriber number.
Yeah,
Too. Like it is just a number, but it's still good to have goals, I think.
Gives you something to work towards.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys think made the video like jump? Just the location, or did you feel like the content was really good, or?
Well,
The thumbnail was good, which I think is huge. That's the thing that I think was like our greatest weakness for a long time was like thumbnail stuff. And like, it still kind of is, but we're starting to get better. And that one, like, I mean, first of all, it's just like a ridiculous place. So it's something that people are searching for. But we also like most of our views don't come from search. What's that?
Is that the one that's in the cave, or is that the one that's just like a big, huge indoor place?
No, it's just a huge warehouse.
Okay, yeah, I've seen.
Yeah.
So we actually had done a video that was sort of similar at the end of 2017. Like here's Ray's.
It was actually like a really terrible video, but it had a similar thumbnail. But the retention on it was really bad. So we were like, what if we made a like shorter, good video with like the same but better thumbnail and like the same title? Because like obviously that worked. And like that strategy actually worked, like hugely.
We took like a video that was bad, but still got views, and redid it so that it was actually good.
Yeah.
And amazingly, it worked.
You know who's really good at thumbnails is Paul the Punter. His thumbnails are really, really good.
He's very good at it, and titles also.
Yeah.
I think that one did well because I think it's like a novelty too. Like it got we got out of the mountain bike sphere, which was super interesting.
Were you guys riding like dirt jumpers or something?
Sorry, what was that?
You guys were riding like dirt jumpers or something?
Yeah, we were on dirt jumps. So yeah, we got a lot of annoying dirt jump kids in the comments, but but like, man, I'm talking like we're like out of bike sphere. We're like people who are like, this looks like a lawsuit waiting to happen. I rode a bike on a like paved path once and it was dangerous. Like, how do people do this? Or people that were like really mad that we were riding bikes indoors. So that was really interesting.
Funniest. I think my favorite comment on that video was, go find a mountain.
Well, it's better than that. And since we're on your channel, we could say the actual version. We try to keep our channel clean. They actually said, go find a mountain, you pussy.
That's awesome.
Well, I've never seen one of those.
Did you click on our channel? Like, you should click on our channel because we do occasionally ride mountains.
Yeah. So it's like really fascinating experience though to have a video like go that viral and like see like where it ends up. Like we definitely have people who are like, this was in my recommended, but I don't even ride bikes.
Like, how the hell do you just recommend for me? I've had some subscribers that tell me that they don't even ride bikes and they just like watching my channel. I'm like, what the hell?
That's cool.
That's weird, man. It's like, okay, you are a strange cat. Sign up for my Patreon. I will dance like a monkey. So you guys got Patreon too?
We do, yeah.
How's that doing?
And that's basically what has made it possible for us to keep doing YouTube, like from a financial standpoint, because as you know, like it's hard to actually make any money off of YouTube AdSense or anything. And so
I think that's the thing that a lot of people watching don't realize. Like, you really have to be at like 100,000 subs before you start making a decent amount from the ads, you know, and that's still not anywhere close to what you're going to get from Patreon, you know?
Yeah, totally. Or you have to have enough videos that like keep getting enough views.
Yeah.
That you're like like when our raise video, like boop, and then like slowed down and then went up and slowed down. And like, it kind of goes back and forth, and we can tell like when YouTube is saying like, this is your estimated monthly amount, we can tell if the raise video is doing well or not, because
it's all based off of that.
Like
it's such a high percentage of that.
Revenue comes from like one video. And then
you guys put like one
$50 maybe.
You guys put like one commercial in the middle, or how do you guys lay out that?
We just do the beginning.
Yeah, just the standard like beginning ad, or like a pop-up, whatever, banner ads. Like we basically just let YouTube choose and don't do mid-roll ads, because
honestly, it's mainly just because I personally find mid-roll ads kind of annoying.
I used to, no, I'm with you. I used to have them in my videos, and I won't lie, like my revenue was doing a lot better then. And but I also got to a point where it was like, dude, actually, I remembered one day it was like, I don't like watching ads. So why the hell do I have them in my videos? You know, like why am I treating people this way? Like, I have the power to not treat them this way, you know?
Yeah.
So that at that point,
basically our same thinking is like, we would rather like do a shout out to our patrons and like thank them for making this possible, because it really, like, they really are the reason we can do this.
Yeah.
Instead of like
an ad that'll maybe net us like $20.
Yeah, and
be annoying.
Be annoying. Yeah, I'd rather have people like be part of the community and feel like they're part of the community, because that's what we want, is a community of people, as opposed to like, oh, here, you guys can deal with an annoying ad, which, you know, we know you hate because we hate them too.
Right.
Yeah, someone in the chat, like, I just hit the skip button on the ad. Like, yeah, that's what everyone does, and that's like.
Yeah, I leave the one on the front because I feel like people are used to it, and every once in a while it's like some movie trailer. You're like, oh wow, I actually want to watch this. Yeah. You know. And then I leave I put one on the end too, because this is the way my thinking on it is that like 99% of people pick another video before it gets to there. And that's just for like the people that are watching at work and get up and walk away, that one gets played all the way through, you know? So,
there you go. Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I figure most people, like, as soon as like, I mean, the video's over, like they're out, you know? So anyways.
Yeah, I think the thing with the ads, like we definitely do the ones at the beginning of the video, because I think like you are getting content for free when you're watching YouTube, and like, you can watch an ad.
Yeah.
You can skip it if you want, like whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't love the mid-roll thing. But we would have put it on our video that got 2 million views though, for sure. Except it's under 10 minutes long, so we couldn't do it.
We missed it. Like, we didn't even realize this, but we're like, oh, we should put a mid-roll ad on the Raise video. Like, that's a great idea. And then we found out that it has to be 10 minutes, and this is like 9 minutes and 54 seconds, and we were like, no, why didn't we make it 6 seconds longer so we could put a mid-roll ad?
Because I mean, let's be real, like once we hit like 100,000 views, like most of the people we care about have already seen the video.
Right.
Mid-roll ad.
Right, exactly. Can't you like edit it, like the bumper, like make the bumper longer or something like that?
Good question. You used to be able to edit YouTube videos, and I'm not sure if you can anymore. I don't think.
Just put like a picture at the end, you know, like 27 seconds. Thanks for watching. We ride mountains. Things have changed. Like the way that they're doing the new YouTube, I don't remember what it's called. The new creator studio is like, it's really strange to me. Like a software company is like, hey, we're going to put out this beta product for like 2 years, force people to use it and still not have feature parity. And whenever you actually want to do something, you got to use the old program.
Yeah, I know. Drives me nuts.
I'm like, I don't understand how long it's been, and like, why do I still have to use the old program to start a live stream? We're getting into that.
Yes.
But anyways, it does seem like it's a lot nicer, like interface and stuff like that. But I don't know if I see the value so much. So, who do you guys ride for? What are your big sponsors? Do you guys have the same sponsors? Do you guys kind of come as a package, or?
Yeah, basically, and that was part of like us starting YouTube, is that we started just like doing all of our stuff together, basically, which makes a ton of sense, especially when we're creating content together. So yeah, we race for Jameis. They're our biggest sponsor, and then Vittoria, Pearl Izumi, Osprey, Slime, and Speedo.
And Stages.
There you go.
All right. I had Osprey on, like, was it last week or no, it's a couple weeks ago. It was like 2 weeks ago. I didn't know they were around for so long. Like, if I was in that, what's that show, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? If I was on that show and the last question was like, which company was around longer, Camelback or Osprey? I would have been like, Camelback, and lost all my money. Like,
Well, I think Camelback did do hydration packs first, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, but I mean, I didn't know that they were around that long. Like, apparently, like they've been doing like backpacks for like 40 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they are amazing to work with. Like, they understand working really with athletes really well, which is part of the reason they have so, like, if you look at their roster of athletes, you're like, oh, that's like one of the top skiers. Oh, that's one of the top rock climbers. Like, they have some amazing athletes. It's really cool.
Very lucky to
be working with them.
Yeah, they sent me one of their fanny packs because I talked all kinds of shit about it. So I'm anxious. I'm anxious to see what that's like to be like right back into the 80s again. Are you guys using one of those?
Yep,
we use them a little bit. I wouldn't say fanny packs are my favorite. What don't
you like about it? What do you like about it?
I think this is like a female specific problem, but it's hard as a woman. If you cinch it on your hips, then it like rides up and start bouncing around. But if you like cinch it around your stomach, it's just like not super comfortable. So nobody's really sorted that one out.
Yeah.
For me. I was using one today though. I do like the, what's the name of the one?
So Syd uses the Cerl, which is the lumbar pack with the water bottles.
Oh, okay.
And then I use the Savu, which is the one that's got the bladder in it.
Okay, that's the one I got. Is the one with the bladder.
Yeah. I like the water bottles because I like to do drink mix, and I don't like putting drink mix in
the bladder.
Reservoir thing. But the bottles are like a little hard to get in and out. And honestly, they're fine for like enduro style riding because you stop. They definitely don't work if you're like not trying to not stop, basically.
Yeah. But let's be real, if you're trying to not stop, you either have a water bottle cage or you wear a pack.
Yeah, my only fear is like I carry like a 3-liter Camelback, and I finish that thing sometimes. So I'm like super paranoid about what rides I'm gonna take this on. Like, I'm like, okay, it's 1.5 liters. I can carry a other water bottle on my bike. I don't know what that makes me at, like total water then.
I put you at like 2 liters approximately.
So I'm still like a liter low. So like in my head, I was like, okay, well, what I've been trying to do is like get my bike in a spot where like the after work ride, I can just do with a water bottle and have the tools and everything that I want, like right on the bike and just be able to go.
Yeah.
And then my idea with that thing was like, okay, it's not going to be like the all day adventure. It's like the local rides that I know. It's like, okay, I'm not going to drink that much. But if I'm going to Tahoe or something, there's like no way I'm not taking the Camelback.
Yeah, if you're doing more than like 3 hours, you probably want to pack. But I would say like 1.5 to 2 hour range is, especially if you have a bottle cage, the lumbar, like the 1.5 liter lumbar pack plus a bottle is a pretty good amount, because that gives you like over a bottle an hour, which is generally like what we recommend to people who are.
They're having a little internet issue there. I'm going to go ahead and fill in while that comes back together. So, oh, you guys sort of back. I think you're back.
We're back. We're back.
We were here the whole time. You just couldn't hear us.
Yeah, I thought you guys went to like another planet or something. You're like, yeah, no. So for me, what I've been doing too, and I'm assuming you guys probably do something similar. Like I'll mix something in the bottle then too, like a Gatorade or like a healthy version of that, you know, like where it's like, okay, I can have something a little sweet, because I won't even put like those like Camelback tabs in my bladder. Like I feel like if you put anything in the bladder other than water, just forget about it. It's gonna get like mold in it or something like that.
And it tastes like that forever, which
right.
you don't want.
You can't get rid of it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to throw this out because I'm a sponsored athlete and this is what I'm good at doing. If you have not tried Scratch, we would highly recommend it because it tastes really good and has a lot less of the stuff you don't want than
Gatorade or something.
Yeah, than other mixes.
We've been
what is it?
So they just do hydration mixes and like recovery mixes, all sorts of stuff. But it's Scratch spelled with a K, so SKRATCH.
And it's basically like they actually make it with like freeze dried fruit. So it does taste really good and it doesn't make you sick, which I have a lot of trouble, especially in like the heat. I cannot do like Gatorade or Heat or any of those because all of those are like super high calorie too, which like is not necessarily bad. It just makes it a lot harder to digest, basically.
So the website for those of you guys that are wondering is actually Scratch Labs. So SKRATCH labs.com. Yeah, I use something that's like this stuff like one of those like gym rat kind of like program things, you know, but it's similar where it's like supposed to be better for hydrating and lower calories and extra somethings in there that are supposedly better for me than Gatorade. Gatorade, like when it first came out, was like a game changer, but now it's just like a juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I think it's
like
just nobody before Gatorade, nobody had been putting like essentially sodium and potassium and magnesium in water, and that's what you need to stay hydrated if you're sweating a lot, because you're sweating out all of those electrolytes, and if you're just replacing it with water, you're just like diluting your blood, basically.
Do you guys do anything else? Like some people like to take like pickle juice or other things like that to keep from cramping, like Cytomax. I used to use that a long time ago. It was a good like non-cramping kind of juice or something that you could drink.
Yeah. So currently the accepted science on cramping, which changes like every week as far as we can tell. I'm gonna put this up. There's a big truck.
He's gonna turn it off though. It's way hot.
Okay. I'll turn it down again.
I'm just like, yeah. It gets warm in the van.
It was just like a diesel truck sitting right there being loud.
No worries. I'm in a garage in freaking California. It's like 90 degrees out right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think we're both feeling the same way right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of what they're kind of saying on cramping now is that it's mainly muscle fatigue most of the time when you're cramping.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not dehydration.
Meaning there's really nothing you can do beyond being better trained before.
Yeah.
You can't like. So like if you're getting like heat cramps, then something like Cytomax or basically any electrolyte mix will help if that's it. But like most of the time,
they're breaking in, and
especially if it's like a specific, you're probably saying.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There you are. You're back.
Maybe.
Can you see us?
Not.
Yep. You guys went for a little ride again.
Okay.
I think the rain is messing with.
Yeah, the rain's messing with us.
It's all right, man. So basically what you were saying is it's muscle fatigue. Get out and train more, you fucks. And then otherwise, if it's like heat, then maybe Cytomax or any other like kind of drink will work well for you.
Right. And unfortunately, I think with the heat.
Negative Ghost Rider. So we just say whatever we want about them right now. It doesn't even really matter. They're frozen on the screen for those of you guys that are listening.
It has nothing to.
There you are.
Can you hear us though?
We can now. I was just like making jokes about what you're wearing and stuff. So
yeah. I think the internet doesn't like us talking about cramps. That's what it sounds like.
The internet is cramping.
Yeah, the internet is cramping.
It must be like one of those keywords that like the NSA like flags. They were like, it's like an undercover word that like the Taliban uses. They're like, oh, they say cramping when they mean bombing, and so
block the internet. Block the internet.
Right, bring them down. Where are they at? I don't know. They were in New Mexico yesterday. So, but you know, I will agree. Like whenever I was having problems with cramping really bad, it really was always at the end of the ride, and it probably more than likely was always like muscle fatigue. One thing that I had somebody say on a ride, and I don't know if it was like placebo effect or what, but they were saying whenever they cramped that they had like Tums, and they were saying like the magnesium in it or whatever like would help the cramping go away. I tried it. My cramps went away ish, but I don't know if there was any science to it, or it was just like, oh, okay, give me some drugs. I'm cool. You know?
Well, apparently there is some science to the idea that like, because cramps are like an electrical impulse, that like eating something with a really strong taste, like interrupts those electrical waves. So that's why the pickle juice works. Or like packets of mustard. So it doesn't actually have anything to do with
what's inside.
And we might be missing it.
No, you guys are still going. You're good.
Okay, we're good. Yeah. I think unfortunately a truck just came and parked between us and the internet, and I literally think that's what's making it bad.
What an asshole.
I know.
What were they thinking?
It's like hard to go out and be like, hey, can you move? You're between us and the wireless router. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
You're like, seriously, I'm trying to run a fucking business in this parking lot.
You're cramping my style.
Cramping.
Right? There he said the word again. We're going down.
I said it again.
So outside of that, like what so you guys seem pretty knowledgeable. I think are you guys like working with like nutritionists a bunch, or is it just like knowledge over the years from being professional athletes? Or
yeah, we have both worked with nutritionists, but I think we're healthier when we don't like obsess too much about food, so we just eat real food. And I mean
basically the nutritionist was like, keep doing what you're doing, and we were like, okay.
yeah.
So it's that combined with, like you were saying, just a lot of experience having raced for a long time. And we try to cover, stuff like this on our channel. If we can just do a shameless plug of our channel here.
Yeah, no, go for it. Do what you gotta do.
We're trying to like put together some playlists of like, if you're thinking about racing cross country for the first time, like here's what you can expect, and here's the gear we'd recommend, and here's the, here's like some of the training that you might want to do. Like we're trying to make it so that there are fewer unknowns for people, so that it's not as scary of a thing. So we are, I think we have a cross country playlist at this point. We're working on an enduro one just with some upcoming videos. So that's all stuff people can check out, and we're always open to do other ones, or open for ideas. So if people have ideas, like we do read our comments, because we don't get enough of them that we can't read all of our comments. So
right. Yeah, I don't have that problem either. I'm like, oh wow, this is so easy. I don't know what those other guys are bitching about. That's funny. So you guys travel around a lot, obviously. Where are some of your favorite places to ride?
Oh, that's so hard.
That's the hard question.
It has a lot to do with the people that you rode with, right?
It's true, yeah, and like everything kind of. We love northern New Mexico. We wouldn't come here so much if we don't. We just spent the day at Pajarito, which is a little bike park in Los Alamos. That's like super underrated, but it is super gnarly. Like we were looking at their trail map, and like they have like 5 double blacks and like 1 blue run. Like it's like, and it's like, I don't know. It's just fun to go somewhere that's like super challenging. So I think because we travel so much, we have a tendency to get like kind of bored easily. So
No, that's definitely, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not obviously on your level, but I can definitely say that over the years, as I've gotten better, it's harder to be challenged, you know? And so it's like, you know, I think anybody can say this, even, you know, the guy that's still just kind of new at it. It's like you ride your local trail so much, it gets to a point where it's not as like fun or like exciting or scary or treacherous, you know. And that's kind of part of why you mountain bike, I think, is like that, like be afraid of something or like try to overcome something. So I can imagine the better that you get. Like when I was talking to Andrew Taylor, he's like doing these like huge freaking jumps and backflips and all kinds of shit. It's like, what the fuck scares you now, dude? You know, like, oh, I'm just gonna jump out of an airplane with my bike and land on this freaking ridge or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it definitely gets harder. But what's also cool, and I think doesn't get acknowledged as much, is that there is really cool riding all over both the world, but also just around like all over the country.
Yeah, often in a lot of places.
It dropped a little bit. I'm going to talk while over there waiting to come back. So one of the
trail somewhere where we didn't.
Frozen, dang it.
Oh,
now you're back.
Over here talking.
That's all right. Go ahead and try that again.
We're in Paradise Balloon Truck.
Go. Yeah, what
I was just saying, I think one of the coolest things about what we do is like rolling up somewhere that we're like, nah, this is middle of nowhere. Like, I don't know what they're going to have. And then having like finding like an amazing trail that you didn't expect. And maybe you wouldn't be as stoked on it if you had to ride it every day on the only trail, but
I think what she's saying, really what she's saying, definitely I'm in tune with.
cool.
You guys are gonna have to either move or tell the balloon guy this is over. No, I'm not telling you guys you have to move.
The balloon guy is killing us.
But what?
Let's see if
there
we
you go.
Put the computer
Roll
closer
down, you'll be good to go. I don't know. We'll find out for
Is
like as long as Syd doesn't talk, we're good. As soon as she starts talking, we're screwed.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, the internet is like, no, we can't let Syd talk.
Kind of like, and I think I was kind of following what was going on, what you were saying as you were like kind of in and out. But like there's good riding everywhere, and don't ever like look at a place or no, it's not huge mountains there. That place might not be good or whatever. Like I don't think that you can do that like fairly to those trails at all, because like, for example, when I rode down at that Spider Mountain place in Texas, in Austin, and it, like, you guys know where I live in Northern California. I mean, Downeyville was like 14 miles of downhill with like, like a 300-foot climb in the middle. And other than that, it's like, you're losing like, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 feet of elevation on that ride. I mean, every ride we do here isn't like that, but I mean, my local ride where I ride the most is Auburn, California. My descent is typically about 1,000 feet there, you know, from wherever I'm climbing. So, I mean, you might have more than that, you know, through the trail and some other spots, but like the big bomber that you do at the end, that's about 1,000 feet, probably a couple miles, like, right? 3 miles, maybe. So, I mean, I went down there to Texas, and it's like, okay, here's this hill that's like 350 feet from the top to the bottom. And I would be lying to everybody if I didn't say that, like, I did definitely go there thinking like, it's going to be okay, but it'll be a fun day. You know what I mean? Like, I had a fucking blast. Like, it was really fun. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was like mediocre. It wasn't like it was like just so, you know, I saw they froze. So they're actually not, their computer trick didn't really work. So anyways, but like, it was a good time, you know, it was like a really good time. I was really impressed with like how well the trails were done. They have plans for more trails. And it's like, all this is one little hill. Like, you can have a really good time in places that you wouldn't expect, you know, like I think another good one is like where down there in South Florida, where some of those guys are at, like what is it, like shoot, Mr. Tonka and well, I think Alex was down there too. Whenever he like around when he was visiting his family, it's like Alfaya or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
like a pretty
something
flat
like that.
place, and it's like those trails look super fun, and oh, I mean, shit, Seth started down there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I think for any of us to judge, it's difficult, but you still do have some places that stand out. For me, one of my standout places that I did since I started the channel was South Mountain. That was like really, really cool to me.
South Mountain's awesome.
Yeah, South Mountain is really cool.
Because it's like
I would say
super
Moab.
technical and chunky, and like the climbs are just like difficult as well. So I mean, as much as I like bitching about climbing, I still like to be challenged, And for me, I've never really been like, and this is probably a little different for you, but like I never really spent a lot of time in the desert. So like to be riding and like seeing like those big, huge cactuses and like the scenery and stuff like that. It was like, this is really neat. This is really cool. Like, I feel like I'm somewhere different,
Yeah. I think that's definitely true. And Moab is one that Moab is probably the one that I like the most that is also a popular mountain biking destination.
Yeah.
Like there are lots of places that we like riding that people are like, oh, I didn't even know like there was mountain biking, like Sun Valley, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome riding, in my opinion. Like just miles and miles of riding.
Like big backcountry stuff. That's awesome.
And people don't necessarily think of Sun Valley, Idaho as like a big mountain biking mecca.
Uh-huh.
So it's cool to find places like that you didn't know had really cool mountain biking, and it turns out that they have spectacular mountain biking.
We also went to Scotland in January once, so we're weird.
Yeah, Scotland in January. It was really wet and really cold, but really, really good.
Right on. That's fun. And like I said, also like sometimes it's just like the people that you're with, and like my favorite ride last year was with Steve and Tess. Which, if you guys know my channel, it's like pretty vulgar and like lots of beer drinking, and they're like the polar opposites of me. But it was like and it sucks. The thing that sucks about it is like where we were riding is actually a pretty epic place, which is Downeyville, but it really had nothing to do with Downeyville. It was just like, we started out, I mean, the top of the mountain was still under the snow. So we were like hiking through the woods, trying to find the trail. Like, it was like great weather for like 10 minutes and then it rained the rest of the way. But we just had like so much fun. And it was just like, there was nobody else out there. It was just like our little group. And we just had a great day. And it was one of those days where you're like, this was a damn good day to be a mountain biker. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that just stick with you. You'll remember like 30 years from now. Like there's plenty of rides that I'll forget, But
that one you'll remember.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Tess and Steve are wonderful. Those two are so awesome.
Yeah. No, there's.
I think.
Yeah, in Sedona.
What was that?
Now they've got their little one.
Oh yeah, they got the
crazy
little baby. I was telling them whenever that ride that I was talking about was, they had just recently had found out that they were pregnant, but they hadn't told anybody yet. So it was like some of the questions that I was asking them were, I knew was like this is the question that I would have asked them if they didn't tell me that they were pregnant, but they had already told me. So it was like questions like, so are you guys going to settle down? Are you guys going to have kids someday? Like, you know what I mean? And like, so it was interesting, like listening to what they were saying, but also knowing that they're like, and they knew too, like, they're like, oh, I got to keep it on the wraps of how I would say this. You know what I mean? So like for them, they're like, nah, we're not really looking into that. Like we're digging how life is treating us right now. So it was I think that made it fun too, So
that's great.
So you guys have gotten married in this time that you've been living in the van. How'd that come up? Let's talk about that.
It's like super unromantic. We kind of wanted to file our taxes together.
There you go.
So basically like a year and a half ago, we went and did like a courthouse wedding thing. And then last year we did have a wedding because the families definitely wanted a wedding.
So
yeah,
that's whenever I thought that was the real deal there. I was like, what's up?
Yeah, we sort of purposely let people believe that because it was a little easier than like, yeah, we've been married for a year now, but we're having a wedding. Like easier to just be like, yep, we're getting married now.
Yeah,
cat's out of the bag now. The NSA knows because of all that.
Yeah, the truth is out.
We were saying, right?
It was like super classic planning on our part though. Like we tried, like we went and did the courthouse thing, and then we're like, okay, we'll just have the wedding on the same day the next year. And like, of course, we couldn't get that together. We could not figure out anywhere. Like everything was happening in New Mexico like that weekend, so like everything was booked. So we're like, for that, we'll have our wedding a year and a week after we actually got married.
So now we have a week-long anniversary.
Exactly.
October 20th to 27th.
There you go. I mean, that makes more sense. You get more gifts, right?
Well,
Because like people shower you with gifts as you're married every year, right?
I'm looking forward to it.
You just do like a week-long live stream with shitty internet. You'll be like,
it'll kill it.
Right? So,
it's funny because we sort of figured like we'd been living in a van together for what at the time it had been like 3 years or something. We're like, I'm pretty sure like everyone's like, be careful, everything changes when you're married. We're like, we live in a van together, we have a job, like we both do the same work and work together all the time. Like
it's really only gonna make our taxes
it's just gonna make things easier.
Yeah. Like normally people are like, dude, you should probably live with them for 6 months. I think 2 weeks in a van, like you're like, dude, no, I know we're good. Like
we figured out all the kinks, guys. Don't worry.
Right. You're like, no, we tackled all those problems right out the gate. So if you guys decided to get a house when you were talking about earlier, what part of the country would you look at?
Probably this area, but yeah,
like
we've considered Los Alamos.
Yeah.
Like this is like you go on Zillow and you browse.
Yeah, we actually love looking at real estate listings and do it a lot as a joke. Yeah. Or just like what if we bought this like $800,000 castle?
Wouldn't it be cool if we had this thing? Oh wait, too bad we don't have $1 million.
Right? Yeah, my lady does that too all the time. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, because then I'm like, I'm not looking at this shit with you, because if I start looking at it, then it's like I start like making plans or something like that. I'm like, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So we've definitely benefited from the fact that Mackey's family's house is unoccupied. So when they come back, or if they sell the house, we'll probably go. So because we will need some sort of a home base, because right now we live in the van, but we have like a shed full of stuff.
Yeah.
And
this is our mailing address, and,
like,
all that kind of stuff. So
that sort of stuff is hard. That's
So
definitely like, I think the hardest part of van life is the mail aspect. So that's why we bounce through New Mexico a lot, so that we can basically
get all of the things that we need to get.
Yeah, totally. You kind of take that stuff for granted, living in a house that you can receive packages. Can you like send them to like a certain like post office and just like pick them up or something like that? Somebody told me you could do that.
And we do that when we have to, but it's a pain.
Doesn't work that well.
I think they charge or something to get your package.
Yeah, they charge you a convenience fee for holding it.
Oh wow, that's nice of them.
And we get a lot of packages.
Yeah, and when we're in New Mexico, we have it shipped to my dad's office, because it's complicated, but he comes back to New Mexico every couple of months. He's a psychiatrist and sees people in person.
Oh, cool.
And then otherwise sees them via televideo. Mm-hmm. So he still has an office here, and his office manager is nice enough to receive packages for us. So we basically get back and have.
It's like Christmas every time you come by. You're like, it's
pretty much. New Mexico, it's always Christmas. Yeah.
You're like, that's why you guys wanted to live there. You're like, it seems like every time we come, we're just showered with gifts.
Exactly.
So you guys said that you have a moto. Is there one motorcycle or two motorcycles in the back of that? so he's putting up the
Well,
2 sign.
at this very moment, there are none because we did not bring them this weekend. But yeah, we fit 2 back there.
So what do you guys do? That is it like a cross training kind of thing, or it's just fun for you guys, or like what's the reason that you're lugging them around as well?
Well, it's great because we call it cross training.
But mainly it's fun.
But basically, it's like the most fun cross training ever because you get to go really fast on a 2-wheeled machine out in the desert, basically. Right.
We don't bring them everywhere, but
most places.
Yeah, most places like Moab, Sun Valley as well. Super fun on the moto.
Crested Butte has awesome moto and mountain bike shared stuff.
And then this area, there's some really good like desert stuff. Yeah. Which is nice, especially when we're here and it's like snowy up in Taos. You can go and ride sand pits.
Yeah. Yeah, you get lower in elevation and the snow goes away. And then the dirt is like, it's too sandy to be fun on mountain bikes, but it's really fun on dirt bikes.
Right.
So it allows us to like get that sort of comfort at speed and correct cornering and like handling a heavy machine while it's snowy in the high country where we would normally be.
How much do you think that the play, like the way that you handle the bike and stuff like play into each other?
Between moto and bike?
And mountain bike, yeah.
I would say for me, it helps a ton. Like, because
is it just in being like stronger because you're throwing the weight around, or is it like cornering? Is it like what kind of things do you think it plays well into?
Well, part of it is cornering, because cornering on a dirt bike, like you can't really steer. You like have to lean the bike.
Right.
Like on the mountain bike, especially like not like a downhill bike has a dual crown fork, so it's kind of like a moto in that aspect. But like on a trail bike, you can be real tweaky in the corners, and you just can't do that on a moto. So yeah, I don't really go that much faster on my moto than I do on a bike, though.
But on a moto, you can go that speed for more of the time. Like on a dirt bike, you can do 20 to 30 miles an hour most of the time.
Right.
On a mountain bike, you have to climb up a hill or take a chairlift to the top if you want to get anywhere close to 20 or 30 miles an hour. So like, yeah, I would say comfort at speed, cornering, and handling a bike that weighs almost 10 times what our mountain bikes do. Right. Those 3 things are the main things.
Probably forces you to like really like, one of the things that people do when they're beginning is they look like right in front of their tire. So riding that moto really gets you looking way out in front of you and kind of like accepting the trail and that's coming up to you at that point,
Yeah, processing at speed.
Yeah, definitely. I used to ride motorcycle, like street bike, but I never really did much on the dirt. So, but I can kind of like see how, like what you guys are talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was the same thing, like the cornering. Like you have to lean those bikes. You don't
totally
get to turn. Like you don't turn.
Yeah.
There is no turning.
Yeah. You're like, no, this doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to think about, actually. I'm like thinking about riding a bicycle that way. It's like, dude, you just like mash over every rock that you come to then, right?
I mean, which really, like, if you can get to the point of riding your mountain bike, especially in corners, the way you ride a dirt bike, it gives you so much more stability and you'll carry so much more speed through the corners.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's the secret, the takeaway for the day is corner a mountain bike like you do a dirt bike, and it will make a huge difference in your cornering.
There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What what the hell was I just gonna say? Dude, I'm so good at like completely forgetting what I was gonna say right before I fucking say it.
You obviously had a hard ride today.
Right? I don't know.
Like,
I think I don't have an excuse ever. Like, honestly, I do it all the time. It's like just like fucking shiny ball for me. I'm like, oh, what's that over there? And then I forgot what the hell I'm talking about. So, is there places where like, have you guys ridden moto in Downeyville? I know you guys have ridden a lot of mountain bike up there. Oh, they're frozen. Now I'm stuck listening to myself. Now I can come up with the question that I was going to ask. You guys are back? Took another
I think
trip.
we're back now.
We're here.
Sweet.
We're back.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
No, did the other guy move? Did he finally go?
No, but at this point we should have a clear shot. So I don't know, and that worked for a long time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No worries. I think we're getting along just fine. It seems like we're doing all right.
Yeah.
What do you guys ride 29er or 27.5?
Yes.
Yeah, we have both.
We
right
do
now.
both. Yeah.
What do you prefer? I
It
know this is
depends
like the
on
religious question.
Yeah, it depends on the trail. Like right now, we both have 130 mil 29ers, and we ride those a lot. And then we have 160 mil 27.5 bikes that we also ride a lot. They also pedal really well, but we tend to like ride those more in the park, and I've been doing a lot of enduro racing on the 130 29er.
I was telling
Go ahead.
somebody just yesterday. I was like, and this is big for me because I was anti 29er for a long time. But since I got the Chameleon, if I was to get a new bike right now, I would look for a short travel 29er.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. That would be like, because like most guys are like a single quiver kind of person, you know, and like to have one bike that could probably do almost anything that I do, like 130, maybe 140 up front, you know, and a 29er.
Exactly what we ride.
Yeah, that's what we ride the most for sure. And like we've ridden that bike, like I raced it at EWS races last year. Macky raced it at Andy's Pacifico, which is a 5-day enduro, and we'll be racing it at BC Bike Race, which is a 7-day cross country stage race. So it's like really incredibly versatile bike. I think like the 160 mil bikes we pretty much have, like they are for those like really steep, really nasty enduro courses.
Right.
And they pedal well and they're fun bikes. But like if you're gonna have one bike to go do like a 4-hour like XC ride up a mountain, and then also you want to be able to take it to the bike park and like rail some black diamond trails, like a 130 mil 29er, and like you said, with a 140 on the front, which is what we did with ours. It's such a capable bike, and it's so much fun. And it like the way the
geometry is now, like the way the geometries are right now, it's just it really kind of just blows you away that it really makes that much of a difference. Before, I mean, the Chameleon the one I have, it's a 29er, has a 120 for the fork right now. I have a 140 that I'm getting ready to put on. But when I first got that thing, like I would come up to certain rocks and I would be like scared because I've been riding these like 140, 160 forks for years and years and years, you know? So it would be like, well, I don't know if this bike can handle it. And it's a hardtail. And like, now that I've had the bike for a while, it's like almost everything that I've ridden locally on my Bronson, I've ridden on that bike now, with the exception of some of the stuff like up in Tahoe. I would ride Downeyville with that bike without a doubt. Like, and I don't feel like I'd have a bad time. There's some chunky sections where it's like, okay, that's going to fucking suck on the back, or maybe I might not make it through that, you know, but when you really sit down and think about like what your trails are, even your trails that you're like, oh, those are like, that's a super techie place. They're really like in spurts. You know what I mean? Like when you really analyze it, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, there is only like that rocky section and that rocky section. Like something like South Mountain where it's like rocky everywhere. You know what I mean? Like that's a little different, but
honestly, even South Mountain, I would probably like, if I just had one bike, I would probably want a 130 mil 29er.
Yeah,
South Mountain,
for sure, because it'd be so much more efficient on the climb.
Yeah,
the climbing
so
there
much
is
better
hard.
climbing. Yeah.
You don't want to be like too far off the back of a huge bike on all those techie climbs.
Yeah. When I went there and I realized like all the guys I was riding with all had 29er pivots. And I was like, this is why pivot's so good at the 29ers, because like they need that where they're at, you know?
Yep. Yep. Totally.
Where's Jamis from?
They're in New Jersey.
So they're an East Coast company.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while too, right?
Yeah, like
they were one of the first.
Yeah, 89 or something. So they were like one of the first companies to make a mountain bike.
How'd you guys get hooked up with them?
So we have worked with Vittoria tires for a long time. And when we were looking to move on from a relationship that we were in, Vittoria OEMs with Jameis, so they
cool.
basically introduced us. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, Jameis has been great. It's been really cool working with them at this time because the new bikes they just put out, the Portal and the Hardline, are so good. And like they'll tell you, like they were one of the first companies to do a 27.5 bike. Like they jumped on that early, but I think they jumped on it so early that people sort of forgot that they were one of the first. And so it was like, oh, like, look, these, Specialized is doing a 27.5. I guess it's arrived. And Jameis is like, yeah, we've done one for 2 years now.
Right.
But like, it didn't. So
They're super underrated.
yeah, they're underrated, but they also, I don't think they've really like blown away anything in the mountain bike world.
Whenever I first started hearing of them, I always thought they were like a boutique bike. Like I thought they were like an expensive, like a special build bike. And I guess I probably still have the same opinion at this point. Like I don't really know much about them,
Yeah, so they're actually a pretty big brand compared to a boutique brand like Pivot. They are pretty big. They do cruiser bikes, they do kids bikes, they do the whole.
So they have all like cross. They have road bikes too.
Say that again.
What's that?
They have like road bikes and gravel bikes. And...
Yeah. Road bikes, cyclocross, and they. One thing that we really like about working with them is that they have bikes at a lot of really good price points, which the company we were working with previously, it's like hard when somebody, especially like a kid, comes to you and they're like, what bike should I get? Like, help me out. And you're like, well, the only bikes I can recommend you like start at like $6,000. Like that's what
right.
And Jameis has they have, like $1,000 bikes that are really they're honestly really good. It's like, we haven't necessarily ridden them, but they're Dakar A1 and A2. They have them in the office and they tell us that they're like the bikes that people always grab to go ride on their lunch break, and it's like a $1,500 mountain bike, so that's really cool to be able to be like, here's a solid product that's not gonna absolutely destroy your budget.
Yeah, or if you're a new rider, oh, you just started mountain biking and are getting into it, you should drop $7,000. Like that.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. It's crazy.
For some people, maybe, but for most people, that does not make sense. So working with Janus, we can be like, no, they've got this amazing, $1,000 full suspension or $500 hardtail. And it's got decent parts on it and it's a good bike. And then they also have the bikes that we're on, the Hardline and Portal, which frankly, they're just awesome. They pedal really, really well and descend really, really well. And they are more expensive, but I think the A2, which is the lower version aluminum one, I think it's just over $3,500 or something. It's not an expensive bike compared to and it's, which is really cool.
Yeah. And they make a big effort to be affordable, which is cool. Cause I think there are a lot of companies, and we don't need to name names, but there are a lot of companies in the bike industry that feel that they get a status symbol out of making their bikes super expensive. And they're not wrong. They make it this coveted thing, but
rhymes with Betty.
What?
Oh, they're by no means the only one, right?
Yeah,
it's not a bad marketing move. You can't knock people for doing that, but I do think it is. Yeah, it makes it harder for people to get into the sport if they think that they can't be competitive until they have an $8,000 bike.
That's one of the things I try to tell people too. It's dude, granted, a $1,500 hardtail is expensive. I think that's what my Chameleon was. But I mean, this thing, first of all, it's the bottom of the line build. It's nothing special on this bike. I mean, I put a dropper on it, and other than that, I've been riding it stock for the last 6 months. Fucking 290 pounds, dude. I'm not a little guy, right? So if this thing is taking that abuse and it's working just fine, dude, you can and I'm being able to ride like I said, anything that I would ride around here. I can ride all of it. Maybe it's not as fast as it would be on my full squish bike, but I'm still having just as much fun on that bike as I am on my freaking $10,000 Bronson. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't like, it's not the bike, it's the engine, it's just like have fun with it and like have a good time out of it. But one of the bikes that I was like blown away with was I had the Bronson was in the shop for whatever reason. I think it was like I had sold my extra bike, so I was getting ready to get another, like before I got the Chameleon, and I needed a bike to like ride. And there was a local shop that had like the bottom of the line, like, or middle of the line, kind of like a Giant Trance. It was like a less than $2,000 bike, I think. And it was like one of the most fun bikes that I've ever demoed. Like it just was like so poppy and lively. And it was like, dude, this is awesome. And that's where, people, I think they just get hung up on like, oh, you pay more, it's better. And it's like, I always try to tell people like, find a bike that you like. Like let's say you buy you ride the super expensive $6,000 one at the shop. Now find the lowest model that has that frame, because everything else on there is going to break, and you can do it slowly. And
it'll break faster on the more expensive one usually. I mean, there's some truth in that. Like, like with a lot of that money that you're paying is just to make it lighter, which if you want something that's durable, like you're just wasting your money, like you should get the heavier components and they'll last a little longer.
Yeah, you can like do it over time. At least you have a bike to ride. It's like, okay, you don't like those brakes, they suck, so save your money and buy a new one. You know what I mean? Or it's like you don't like that derailleur, and well, no shit, you're gonna bang it off a rock sooner or later. So like you get an opportunity to buy one. So it doesn't take very long until you go through all those parts.
I think there's also, just talking about this like exclusivity thing, is I think that's a problem the mountain bike world has gotten into recently, of like, if you're not like one of the cool kids, then like you don't belong. And if you don't have a $8,000 bike, then you don't belong. And that's something we've been trying to focus on a lot. And I could tell you are also, of like, we all started as beginners. None of us like, ta-da, I'm a professional racer. Like,
you don't need to be a professional racer to have fun. Like probably other people have a lot more fun than us.
That's quite possible, really. Likely.
But it's really interesting, like when we started doing some videos about like introducing people to racing, like we had so many people who were just like concerned that they'd like show up in the wrong clothes or on the wrong bike and like look like a goober. And it's just like a bummer to hear that, because it's like that shouldn't really matter. Like, it should be about what's fun and comfortable. But like
Like, I always feel bad whenever I'm telling people about riding, and it's like, first of all, you like talk to them about like getting a bike, and then you're like, well, if you really want to be comfortable, you need to buy a helmet. That's good. And then you want to buy a nice pair of shorts, and you want to make sure you're not wearing cotton t-shirts. So you should probably buy some. You should probably, and like all of a sudden you're like, I just told him to buy like another $500. Like, you need a camelback, you need gloves, and you're like, oh shit, no, you can actually just have fun. Like, get a bike and start there.
It's totally true.
The helmet might be necessary.
Helmet is necessary.
But I mean, even the difference between a good helmet and a cheap helmet, like, you definitely get what you pay for. I mean, when you buy, like, even for a long time, I never had a road helmet. I always just wore my mountain bike helmet.
Yeah.
And the first time I bought, like, or I didn't even buy it, Callie gave me a road helmet, and I was like, oh my God, this thing's so light. Like, I can't even feel it on my head. I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? And in my head, I was always like, I don't need to buy another $100 helmet. That doesn't make any damn sense.
There's a reason that like all this stuff exists.
Right.
Like, yes, it is more comfortable to have the like super expensive this, and like there's a reason people pay money for it, but not having it shouldn't ever be the reason you don't go ride.
Right. I mean, I've definitely seen guys in jeans fucking wax the shit out of me down the trail in my shorts. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You're like, what is that guy doing? Jeans. Oh shit, he has a parrot on his handlebars, and he just passed me. I kid you not, dude. We were at Santa Cruz at the Flow Trail, and there was a guy riding with a parrot on his handlebars.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't fucking believe it.
There's
I got a picture of it
there's
on my
a lot of
Instagram.
weird in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Right.
Santa Cruz, it's a special place.
So where do you guys, are you guys sticking around the New Mexico area for a while? Or are you getting ready to like head anywhere else?
So we are racing the Return of the Burner at Angel Fire, which is a endurance downhill event this weekend, and then we are packing up and heading up to BC. So
For BC Bike Race.
yeah, that's our big adventure of the summer.
So what is so you said it's an enduro downhill?
So it's an endurance downhill. So basically,
What does
It's
that mean?
a team of 3, and you have to race 18 laps. And Angel Fire is a very rough, very big mountain that you drop like 2,000 feet of elevation.
So 18 laps is a lot.
So it's a lot of laps. And there is
wow.
a solo category, which we were going to do. And then our coach was like, you're racing BC in 2 weeks. You are not racing the solo category for this race. So we're doing it as a team with one other friend. So we each are going to do 6 laps, which is
it won't
still
be
going
that
to be
different than like a hard enduro, but it'll still be
So-
hard.
Yeah.
It'll be it's sort of a fun format because like the chairlift time counts and like the time getting to each stage counts. So it's like total elapsed time. Like they start it, and then when you finish your 18 laps, like you're done. So
And
there's like all the logistic element and like,
Okay,
you
so
all
you're not
use-
climbing those 2,000 feet on every lap then.
no, you take the
I was like,
chairlift.
holy shit, dude,
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
12,000 feet. You said you're doing 6 laps. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck
Yeah.
yeah, man.
12,000 feet of descending,
Yeah,
which is a lot at Angel Fire too, because it's pretty rough. So it'll be hard for sure.
and you
Well, that's
all
a big
use the
day.
same chip, like timing chip.
Uh-huh.
So you can't be on the mountain at the same time. So like one person will do a lap or 2 and then hand off the chip, and the next person, and then hand off the chip, and you try to figure out between the 3 of us, like what's going to be the fastest way for us to get all these laps. And it's like, you have to do 6 on this trail, 6 on this trail, 6 on this trail. So we're trying to like figure out how are we going to like, who's going to do which laps and what order are we going to do? And like, we have to figure out all this stuff. And I think it's going to be really fun.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't tell me that you were pregnant before we started this, but I'm gonna ask what happens. You guys think about having kids or not in the plan?
This is good. So this is what we told my parents when they asked us after we got married. We said, you can ask again in 5 years. And then they waited 2 months
And then
and they said, so what are you thinking about kids? And we said, like we told you, you can ask again in 5 years.
so basically not
In the 5-year plan.
Not in the plan anytime soon.
Right on. That sounds legit. Don't hang out with freaking Steve and Tess then. You might catch the bug, right?
No, it's perfect. We want to hang out with Steve and Tess because they have a baby, so we can play with it until
Right.
it poops or cries,
And then give
and
it
then we
back.
give it back.
That's the fun part, man, right?
Yeah.
Just handing it back over and being like, okay, you guys can
Favorite-
stay up all night.
Being gross.
Yeah. Favorite kind of babies is other people's babies.
You're all, we're going to sleep now. You guys get to stay up all night.
Good night. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, like living on the road in such a small space with the baby too. That's got to be a handful.
Yeah.
If there's
impressed
any
with them.
couple that can do it, it's definitely them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
They got a great outlook on like they're very positive, both of them. You know,
Yeah.
I would be like after a couple of weeks, I'd be like, this is where I'm over it. Yeah, that's awesome. So then BC. So what's going on up in BC?
So we're racing BC Bike Race. So it's a 7-day cross-country stage race. So we have been training for that a lot, obviously, to be able to ride for 7 days in a row.
Basically, you race a probably 3 to 4 hour cross country race every day for 7 days, and they add up your time, and whoever has the shortest time wins.
Oh wow, that sounds brutal.
It's going to be pretty brutal, but apparently the trails are awesome. So
Yeah.
we're pretty stoked.
Hey, can
We're
you guys
also racing it
go ahead?
as a duo, so like together. So we are a team, and so we basically have to be, I think it's within like a minute of each other at all times.
Oh wow.
So we basically start and finish together, but we can like provide emotional support for each other and remind the other person to eat and drink. And so I think it's going to be,
it'll be a good like introduction to cross country stage racing to not have to like be by yourself in your own head for that entire period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody thinks that, you know, like as a pro rider, like you just go ride. What's the difference between training and riding for like fun?
You go like, way harder and way easier when you're training. Like basically, I think that's the thing that people don't realize is we actually like do a lot of resting and a lot of like riding really easy, and then we also go super hard. But we try to avoid the in between when we can.
And that's what, like, generally if someone's like, how can I get faster? Our number one piece of advice is when you are riding, ride way harder so that you're like tired, really tired when you're done, and then take time off to recover from that instead of riding like sort of medium hard all the time, because medium hard it's fun. You're like, this is great. I'm enjoying riding my bike, but you're not really getting anything from it, especially if you aren't recovering. You're just like staying in this gray area all the time.
So what's a recovery? What's a recovery time from like a big ride then? Like, is it a couple of days? Is it one day? Is it
a lot. It depends how much like our coach wants us to recover to. Like, since you've been training for a 7-day race, like we're also kind of like we're stacking a lot of days on top of each other. So it's more like, oh, we'll ride for 4 or 5 days in a row and then take like 2 or 3 days off and then do it again.
Or like, even like, I think most recently it was like ride 3 or 4 days hard in a row and then take a day off.
Yeah.
And then another 3 or 4 days hard in a row.
So when you say hard, like whenever when I met Kyle Warner, I bought a bike from him. I didn't have a clue who he was. And so after he left my house, I looked him up and I'm watching him run this enduro race, and he's just fucking hammering it. Like to the point where it's like, this guy's got to be puking when he stops, right? So like when you're saying like ride hard, is it like ride hard, like as hard as you like everything you got on those days? Or like, is it still like 90% of what you would race day?
Yeah, it depends a lot on your goals. So like when we were only doing enduro racing, we were basically training for, and Kyle's an enduro racer as well. So like training to be super pinned for like 10 to 15 minutes tops. Right. So we would do a lot of intervals in the 1 to 5 minute range. So basically that's like going out on the road or sometimes on trails, depends, and like sprinting for a minute, fully recovering, sprinting for another minute, however many times, or 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now that we're training for a 7-day cross country race, we've been doing like this past weekend, we would we'll ride the bike park and like, go reasonably hard, but like having fun, riding laps, and then go out and do like a 40-minute hill climb at like a steady state pace. So like that's a specific power outage for those. Yeah,
I get it.
So that sort of helps us balance like getting that, because the skill side is still super important for us too. Yeah. So
that bike park gives you that quick twitch kind of stuff though, man. I tell you what, if anybody doesn't ride at a bike park, or you think that like you're a mountain biker, you don't need to ride a bike park, go to a fucking bike park and like look at the outside loop and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do that like 10 times in a row. The first time you get around that, you're going to be like, I need a break.
It's so much fun too.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's totally awesome.
Because it's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's like, it surprises you like how like dusted you get off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went down to the local bike park for like
doing a bunch of push-ups.
Yeah.
And squats in a row for a long time.
But it does some great things for you too. Like, man, you learn how to corner, like you can get more comfortable with jumping, like whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like for me, I feel like the cornering aspect of it. And then a lot of guys, I think, that start out don't realize that like that you can and should like pump your bike when you're actually riding on the trail. You know what I mean? So it's like he puts this into your head where you're like, now when you're riding the trail, you're like, oh, there's a little divot, give it this, give it that, you know, and that's where you can get some of that speed from, and you're not getting it from like just pedal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. There's tons of speed to be made without pedaling.
Yeah.
Tons of speed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we're wrapping up on 2 hours here, man. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hook up with me again. I know the first time didn't go so well, but you
sorry
know,
about that.
honestly, like, dude, I'm not paying my electricity bill with this gig, so it worked out just fine. I was like, oh, I get the night off, sweet. So it really was no problem to me. And I guess before you go, like, where do you guys want to see the channel go in the next year? Since you smashed your goal this year already.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
I think now we're just trying to work on the balance of like creating stuff that's like informative but also fun. And I think it's funny, like when we first started, we didn't think about like video quality at all, and we were just like, we're just gonna tell a story and like have some community stuff going on. And now we're like, okay, and to kind of like try to craft something that's a little more, I don't know,
it's a little
creative, I guess.
Yeah, creative, but also like we want people to be entertained but also learn something. So like we understand,
when I first started,
like, you know, talking about, go ahead.
When I first started, it was like, just put the GoPro on, do the ride, and then figure the story out later. And now it's like, I'm trying to think of ahead of time, like, what is it that I want to accomplish with this ride? You know, like, what do I want to tell people? So I definitely dig what you're saying there, man. I appreciate you guys, honestly, dude. It was super fun talking with you guys together as a couple that's racing professionally, living in a van. You guys rock, man. Awesome outlook. Like every time I didn't get a chance to meet you guys in Seattle, I didn't know you guys were there, and then somebody's like, oh yeah,
bummer.
It was so crazy. I raced 4 different races over the weekend, so
we were pretty much just running in circles.
I was running in circles, but because I was drunk. But
you probably had more fun than us.
You probably had more fun.
Like a little like so many obligations. Like it was a good time.
Yeah, I almost didn't even bring my bike in because I pretty much knew I've ridden down that area before, and it's not like epic riding by any means. So I was like, I'm just gonna go down there, drink a bunch of beer, walk around, talk to people. That was fun.
Good plan. Good plan.
Right on. Well, like I said, thanks again. I mean, I really appreciate it. Everybody out there that threw up a super chat while we were talking, I really appreciate it. That stuff really does keep the channel. Could I say really again? That's really crazy. But it does really help out the channel a lot. If you guys want to help support my channel or their channel, we both have a Patreon. Go ahead and stop by. Even if you're on the bottom end, even if you don't want to sign up for one of the tiers, you can just do $1. And $1 is like, you know, you go to the bar, somebody pours you a beer, and you tip them an extra $1 on top of that for like 10 seconds of work. Like, go ahead, throw $1 to your favorite YouTuber, and it makes a big difference. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go over to Syd Macky's channel. I'll put it in the show more later. You can get over there and subscribe to them as well. They got a lot of good content. From what I've seen, it was all good. So if you guys, right, if you guys listen to the podcast instead of watching this live on Sundays at 5 p.m. PST, please leave a review. If it's less than a 5-star review, leave it on somebody else's podcast. That would be great for me. And if you guys haven't hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button. And remember one thing and one thing only: it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get the fuck out and be one, bitches.